Welcome back. My name is Malka, and this is everything I read and watched in the months of April and May because I completely forgot to do my April recap. So apologies for this being an extra long video because of it, but I still wanted to talk about what I read in April. So in the month of April, I read 6 books, which isn't as many as I usually get through, but they were a little bit higher of a page count than usual. The first book I read in April was Inamorata by Ava Reid. This is an incredible gothic fantasy. I love Ava Reid's writing, and I just thought the horror elements in this were so good. As someone who really likes horror and fantasy, I'm always excited when I can find a book that blends both really well. I gave this book 4 stars. I cannot wait for the sequel. And then I read Seduction Theory by Emily Adrian. Essentially, this book is a master's student writing a novel, and so we are reading the novel, and I really like a book like that does sort of break the fourth wall in that way. But a lot of this writing really fell flat for me, and I didn't really like the characters and the way that they developed. I don't think it was a bad book. I actually think it was a pretty good book and plot, but I don't know if I would read it again. I gave this book 3 stars. I really think it could go either way for most people. Also in April, I read The Everlasting by Alexi Harrow. I loved this book. I was so surprised by how much I loved this book. I gave this book 5 stars. I cannot recommend this book enough, and I see why other people recommend it so much. It's like a perfect fantasy book with a lot of really fun modern elements in it, and I truly don't even know how to explain it without spoiling it. So just go read it. But it's everything you want from like a lady knight and yearning and all of that. It's got a great villain. I adored this book. I also read Tim Curry's memoir called Vagabond. I gave this book 5 stars. I love Tim Curry. I grew up with him. I really enjoyed this audiobook, and I think that if you like Tim Curry and you've loved all of the projects that he's worked on, this is just another amazing project that he did. I also really enjoyed watching a lot of his movies as I listened to the audiobook. So I'll talk about the movies I watched that have him in it as well. I had such a good time reading this, and I really enjoyed listening to it while I was gardening because he talks a lot about his love of gardening. So I would highly recommend the audiobook if you want to read this. I also read Private Rights by Julia Armfeld. I read this book for Lesbian Visibility Week because I'm a lesbian and I love lesbian books. But I love Julia Armfeld's writing. Our Wives Under the Sea is one of my favorite books. I still like that book a little bit better than Private Rights, but this book is so great. I really connect with Julia Armfeld, I think, because I'm a lesbian, I love water, I even minored in water science, so a lot of Julia Armfeld's writing really resonates with me, like on a very deep personal level, so I will read anything that Julia writes. I gave this book 4 stars. I adored it. I read Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This was for my friend Naya's book club on Fable, and this is not my first time reading this book, but it is my first time reading it all the way through from cover to cover. I did a mix of the physical copy and the audiobook because I've been gardening a lot and I wanted to listen to her read it while I was gardening when she was talking about gardening. I think that was such a lovely experience, and I really highly recommend everyone read this like every spring. I think I'm gonna make it a tradition for myself to read this every spring. In May, I read 9 books. The first was The Caretaker by Marcus Klewer. This book I technically read as an ARC, but I read it a little bit after the release date. I also read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer, and a lot of people love that book. It was not my favorite. I think because I am queer and I feel like the representation of the characters in that book was really underwhelming and kind of disappointing, but I don't know why I was disappointed. It was written by a man. So I actually do think that The Caretaker was a massive improvement in writing quality. I think that it was actually incredibly well written and extremely scary. Marcus Klewer does do scary very well, and I really did enjoy this book. I did give it 3.5 stars just because I read so much horror that I don't think it was anything new or original or all that compelling in comparison to some other authors that I really love. But I do think other people would really like it. It was actually like the month of reading all of my NetGalley shelf, so I have a lot of ARCs on here. The next book I read was The Pillager's Guide to Arctic Pianos by Kendra Langford Shaw. This book is so lovely. It is whimsical, it's humorous. This book is a multi-generational homesteading Arctic adventure, where this family has to hunt for pianos that have been sunk in the Arctic and sell them to make a living. I've never read anything like it. I think her writing style is so lovely and humorous and whimsical. I really enjoyed this book, but I do think there were a lot of missing elements for me that would have made it a really highly rated book. So I did give it 3.5 stars, but I think it is really fun and I think people should read it. I think it was a really good book, especially for a debut novel. So another arc I read was Canon by Paige Lewis. I love this book and I will be purchasing it when it comes out on paperback. It was such good queer representation and I just really loved the writing style. Canon is about a lesbian prophet of God and a regular non-binary person with contamination OCD, and they are both on a quest for God, who is just some guy, and I think that's so fun and endearing. One of them is trying to take credit for this quest of defeating Dominic and the bad guys, and one of them has actually been given the quest by God. So they're both on a mission to win his favor, and there is so much fun stuff in it. There's a whale named How Big. It's just truly such a delight of a book. I adored it and I want everyone to read it. I listened to the audiobook of Cleopatra by Sarah El-Arifi. I actually read this in one sitting because I took a 7-hour road trip and it took me exactly that long to listen to this book. I originally gave it 3.5 stars. I have considered moving that rating up to 4 because I really enjoyed a lot of the elements about it, and I think at this point I've forgotten the stuff that I didn't like about it. I think the major issue I had with this book was the pacing of it. I think the beginning and the end were so good, and the middle felt a little bit slow and repetitive, but I really liked this book and I think the writing style was really good, and the portrayal of Cleopatra was so interesting and dynamic. There's a lot of books coming out like this where they are retelling a woman in history's story from her perspective in an empowering way, because a lot of women have been reduced to one aspect of themselves. I thought it was a really good portrayal of her as a whole human being with a lot of really fun and interesting side characters. I would really recommend this book, especially if you like mythology adapted into fiction. I'm continuing on my Shadowhunters journey. This month I read City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare. This is the 4th book in the Mortal Instruments series, and I gave it 4 stars because I think that this is a 4-star series, but City of Glass is by far the best book in the series. I really loved it. I had a great time, and this one's a lot shorter than the other ones, so I got through this one very quickly. Another arc I read was Chateau Reverie by Natasha Siegel. Natasha Siegel wrote As Many Souls as Stars, which is a book that I really loved. And this book was quite disappointing to me. It comes out in October, and I am not going to recommend that people read it. I'm actually really mad that this book is advertised as sapphic because the main character technically is bisexual, and there is 2 mentions of her being bisexual at all. It is a straight romance story. So that was really disappointing to me. I don't like when things are advertised as sapphic when they really mean a bisexual woman in a relationship with a man. I think that's really disrespectful. And I just think that the story felt really flat. I think there were some fun elements that I liked about it, like the house was very creepy and the spooky elements were good, but I just was very disappointed by this book in general. I gave it 3 stars because I still think her writing is good, and I liked the house element of it, but I was really disappointed. And then I read a lovely book, Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lou Baker. This is one of the most gorgeous books I own. It's the Evernight edition of this book. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I was so impressed. I haven't read any Kylie Lou Baker, but I immediately went and bought her other book. This is so good. It's very scary. I really like the haunted house elements of this, and then also all the characters were so well done. Even all of the small side characters were so well developed and fleshed out that I really felt like I was in this world. It's also very fast paced, and I think Kylie Lou Baker's writing style is very bingeable. Love this book. I think everyone should read it. It's so good. And then I read Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I read this book in 2 days. I binged it. I gave this book 5 stars. This is one of the most incredible books that I have ever read, and I'm not going to talk about it that much because I think everyone should go in blind. I think learning anything about the plot sort of does a disservice to you as the reader, but what I will say is that the writing is gorgeous and the world building is incredible. I have truly never read anything like this. And then I read The Deep by River Solomon. I read the audiobook of this, which is narrated by David Diggs. This is an incredible book to read on audio. I read it in like 2 hours because I do read stuff pretty fast, and I was disappointed that it was over so quickly. And the afterword, he actually says, "You're mad you read this so quickly." And I was like, I am. So that was very funny. The way that River Solomon writes emotion is so interesting and beautiful. I really like Model Home by River Solomon, and I want to read more by them. I really love mermaids. I want more mermaid books, especially when they are like about something more than just a fantasy world. I think this was an incredible book, and I would recommend everyone read it. I think River Solomon is such an incredible author. I did give this book 4 stars. I watched so many movies in the months of April and May, so I'm gonna try to do this a little bit quickly and not talk about them too much. There are a lot of Tim Curry films in here because there were so many that I hadn't seen, even though I grew up with him. In April, I watched Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure. I wanted to watch these because I read Wings of Starlight in the month previous, and I just really like the Tinkerbell universe. I gave it 3 stars. It's nothing special, but it is nostalgic, and I think it's a well done like adaptation of that universe. And then it was my friend's birthday, and their favorite movie of all time is George of the Jungle, so we watched that for the first time. I really like Brendan Fraser, but this movie was like such nonsense, and I know it was supposed to be satire, but I just did not click with it. And I think you maybe had to see it when you were younger. So I gave it 2.5 stars. I watched the drama in theaters. I gave this movie 4 stars, and honestly, I'm not gonna talk that much about it because I'm pretty sick of other people's discourse about it. The movie is intentionally telling you not to take a moral high ground, and all the takes about it I've seen are people taking a moral high ground about it. I watched Good Will Hunting for the first time. What an incredible movie. I cannot believe it was written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck when they were like little kids, basically. What an incredible movie. I gave it 4.5 stars. I watched Congo, which is a Tim Curry movie, and his name is Dr. Homolka, and my review of this on Letterboxd is the only thing that was keeping my attention in this film was the fact that I kept thinking they were saying my name Malka, but really they were saying Dr. Homolka. So it's a very bad film, but I think it actually paired really well with George of the Jungle with like animatronic apes. It was really strange, but it's also an action horror movie. I don't know. This movie was actually nonsense, but I still had a good time. And Tim Curry said in his book that Laura Linney took it seriously, so that made me laugh even more. I rewatched Easy A, starring Emma Stone. This movie is so good, and it actually holds up way more than I thought it was going to, so I gave it 4 stars. The Cat Returns is another Tim Curry movie. He does voice acting in it. It was very fun. Carrie Elways and Anne Hathaway also voice in it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's kind of a weird anime. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, and I think it was good. I don't know. Tim Curry in it is very strange and funny, though. And then for Lesbian Visibility Week, I was trying to consume like 80% lesbian media, so I watched Gia, starring Angelina Jolie. This is not a good movie, and there's a review on Letterboxd that says, "What was this, edited by a monkey?" And that made me laugh so much, but it's very strangely edited and kind of bad. But Angelina Jolie is very good in it, and it is very gay. Like it's for lesbians. So I gave this movie 3 stars because it's not very good, but I am happy I watched it. I also watched The Handmaiden, and I loved it. I'm so surprised I hadn't seen this movie before because it's a horror movie as well. I had such a good time. It's very gay. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. So those are the movies that I watched in April. In May, I watched 16 movies. I watched The Blues Brothers, which is a comedy from 1980. I thought it was fine. Now I'm looking at my 4-star rating, and I actually don't think I liked that movie that much, but I'm gonna keep my 4 stars because it must have been good. The amount of car crashes and car chases in this movie is absolutely absurd. If you like an older comedy, you will like this one for sure. I was sick at the beginning of the month for like 1 day, so I watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And the only reason I watched this is because Ryan Coogler said that he drew inspiration for his vampires and sinners from this movie, and I love that. It was actually a very good movie. And I am not an animated movie person. I gave it 4 stars. I had a really good time. I really liked the like action animated portions of it. I thought it was really fun. Still a little bit on the tail end of my Tim Curry kick. We watched Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time ever. I can't believe I'd never seen this. This is such a good movie. I gave it 5 stars. I just loved it so much, and I don't even like musicals like that. So I was really happy to have seen this. I really loved it. Tim Curry's incredible. I can't believe that was his first film. We went and saw The Devil Wears Prada 2. This is not a very good movie. I gave it 3.5 stars. I feel like for a sequel, it was fine. I liked that it took a little bit of an anti-AI stance, but other than that, I feel like there was not that much happening. And I think their outfits are ugly. I don't understand. I have been watching Twin Peaks for the first time ever with my friends who are obsessed with it and are actually from that area of Washington. So we finally finished the series and then we watched Fire Walk with Me. I gave this movie 5 stars. It is perfect. I don't even know what to say about it. I think it's an incredible film to follow up the first 2 seasons before the return. It's also one of the saddest, most devastating films I've ever seen. And we also watched The Missing Pieces, which technically is a movie on Letterboxd, so I logged it. And that was kind of fun too, even though it's not really a movie. It's just a bunch of deleted scenes. I saw Hokum in theaters. This is such a fun movie. Oddity is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Truly nothing has scared me like that movie. So I went into this expecting to be scared, and I was. Like, my friends and I took a break from Twin Peaks and we watched Fly Away Home starring Jeff Daniels. This is one of my favorite movies growing up. I gave it 5 stars, and I really realized where my love of conservation came from. I had not connected it to this movie specifically, so 5 stars because it's untouchable for me. I watched I Love Boosters in the movie theater. This is a Boots Riley film. Sorry to Bother You was in my Letterboxd top 4 for forever, so I was so excited to finally see another movie by him. I gave this movie 5 stars. I think that this is one of the best movies ever. It's like, I love leftist film and media, and I think there's very few opportunities for something like this to get made. I will rewatch this endlessly, and also the soundtrack is so good. I've been listening to it and I have actually never been more productive in my whole life. So thank you, Boots Riley and Tune Yards. And then I watched Remarkably Rare Creatures. This is my copy of the book. It's a great adaptation. I was so pleasantly surprised because I feel like there are so many bad book adaptations recently that I was so excited to see a good one. I think they did leave some stuff out that I really liked about the book, but I don't think it took away from the story. But I gave it 4 stars. I cried just like I cried in the book. Sally Field was such a great Tova. It was so good. It was so lovely. And I'm kind of sad it didn't get a theater release because it was actually a very good film. I also watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I had never seen this before. It is bad. I gave it 2.5 stars. I had a good time, I guess, but I feel like you needed to be there maybe. I don't think it was very good at all. And the humor was like not really for me. And then I saw Obsession in theaters. What an incredible horror movie. I gave it 4.5 stars. Everyone's talking about it. There's so much good stuff about it. I just thought it was so incredible and it felt very real. It was very, very scary. Indy is so good and I hope she does more horror movies. This is definitely one of the best horror movies I saw this year. I really hope we continue to fund young people's projects. And then Letterboxd lets you log comedy specials, so I did, and I watched Taylor Tomlinson's new special on Netflix, Prodigal Daughter. I gave this 4 stars. It's not my favorite by her, and maybe just I've outgrown her humor a little bit, but I still think she's very funny, and I like to watch her stuff. I watched The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I have not seen this movie since I was a teenager, but I watched it because I remember there being like a big part of it about Rocky Horror Picture Show. And since I watched that movie for the first time this month, I wanted to rewatch Perks of Being a Wallflower. I don't know why I watched that movie so much as a teenager, never thinking I should go see Rocky Horror Picture Show. I didn't realize that it was directed by the author of the book. I feel like that's very rare. So I was actually pleasantly surprised by that. And I think it's a really good adaptation, but it's very like, you were on Tumblr in 2012 and this is for you. It's great. I gave it 4 stars. I think it's a really good movie. And then I went back to the movie theater and I saw I Love Boosters again because it's a perfect movie, maybe even better the second time around. And finally, on Saturday, I watched Backrooms. This is so fun. And again, like, can we please be funding young people's projects? Because this was directed by a 19-year-old YouTube like short creator. This is incredible. It did feel very amateurish to me. I ended up giving it 4 stars just because I was very freaked out and I really loved the way it looked. Like the cinematography was incredible. The creation of these liminal spaces in cinema was so good. The plot lost me. There wasn't really a plot. I was really disappointed that his employees were not in it more. I feel like that comedic element needed to be there a lot longer. But I did really like the ending, and I think the cliffhanger element of it really set it up for a sequel, which I'm sure they will give him. And then these last couple months, I haven't really been watching many shows. I'm like very slowly watching Game of Thrones, but I keep forgetting about it. I'm also watching Criminal Minds Evolution, but I've only watched like 3 episodes of the new season. I did watch all of Couples Therapy. I will be watching Love Island like all summer, so that will be the TV show that I will be talking about for the rest of the summer. I hope everyone has a great June and a great Pride Month. Thanks for watching.